Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Norris, WHYY's community contributors and engagement editor. A huge part of my work here includes ensuring that underrepresented voices get to express themselves on WHYY's TV, radio, and online platforms. You might have seen me hosting WHYY's Police Reimagined, where we contextualized the movement to defund the police and explored what that would mean for public safety in our region. I've also explored the causes and possible solutions to the city's gun violence crisis through WHYY's Neighbors in the Crossfire. And most recently, through Shades of Black, I've helped audience understand who Black voters are and what motivates them to the polls. If you've missed any of this programming, you can catch up by going to WHYY.org. We're excited that you have decided to spend tonight with us. We know the past year has been rough and that the events of the world have us all sticking closer to home. But WHYY's virtual events are a great way to join in with others to watch and listen to good conversation with members of our community. All of our events can be found at WHYY.org/events. Tonight, we're taking a look at the role and influence of church within our community. We have a great set of panelists who will talk about what church has meant in their lives, and we think many of you will relate to their stories. Helping us share this story tonight will be Thomas Allen Harris, host and executive producer of Family Pictures USA, the documentary-style show that uses photographs and images to introduce us to a more nuanced and diverse story of our common history, shared present, and evolving future. We're thrilled to have Thomas and his team with us tonight, and we know this will be an exciting conversation. One housekeeping note: the event is being taped and portions of it could be used on WHYY's platforms. We'll also share the event recording with each of you right after the event.
Thank you, Chris, for that great introduction. Good evening, everyone. I'm Thomas Allen Harris, host of Family Pictures USA, and we're happy to be hosting this special event with WHYY celebrating the Black Church in Philadelphia in the run-up to the upcoming PBS series, The Black Church. This is our story. This is our song. Hosted by my good friend, Henry Louis Gates. Tonight, we're exploring what the Black Church means to you. We have some very special Philadelphians giving their personal testament to how the church and their faith has influenced their lives. If you have a special story that you want to share with us, go to Family Pictures USA Facebook group to submit it. Let's get started. But first, we have a short clip by a wonderful WHYY student filmmaker. Let's play the clip. Reverend B. Michelle Horton is a mom, a grandma, a mentor, poet, author, pastor, teacher, and founder of a sacred space ministry located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Reverend Michelle, welcome. How are you? And you're muted, so you have to unmute yourself.
All right, there we go.
Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Good. So you came with some wonderful photographs, both of your church family, and your family of origin. So let's start with the first photograph.
Okay.
So obviously this is an old image. Tell us about it.
Yeah, this is my grandmother and grandfather, Fanny and Lawson Donald, born in the 1800s. Both passed away before I was born, but it's a photo that is the only photo I have of them, and one that I look at often. And they are parents of 14 children,
Wow.
The youngest being my mom, Mary Dawson. And although I never met them personally, I feel their spirit, and they gave my mom a love of God that has been passed down through generations.
Beautiful, beautiful. So let's go to the next photograph.
This is a pretty recent photograph of my former pastor, Pastor Mike Robinson of Greater Enon Missionary Baptist Church. And he is the pastor that ordained me once I got to his church to serve for a while. And we are close friends. He's my brother beloved, and I'm just happy to have him in my life.
Beautiful. Such love in these photographs. Let's go to the next one. Now, you do a lot of different types of work in the church. So tell us a little bit about what's going on here.
Yeah, one of the things that I love about the Black church is the celebration of praise. And no matter what kind of gift you have, you can bring it to the altar, you can bring it to the church. And one of the things that I always loved before I accepted Jesus in my life was to dance. I still love to dance, but God gave me another dance, and this is creative dancing that I've been able to share, worshiping God in different contexts in different churches. So that was me there.
So beautiful. Let's go to the next photograph.
Yes. So this is one of my other favorite photos. I was ordained in 2015, and this is the ordination service, and I'm surrounded by friends and colleagues and family. And this is the time where they lay hands on you and send you off to do the work of the Lord. And that was at a Greater Enon Missionary Baptist Church as well.
So I see so much healing, both in the movement and the laying on of the hands, and it feels like for us, the Black church has this dynamic quality that is very tactile as well.
Yes, absolutely. We have property. We feel properties in our hands and in our praise and in our worship that is exuberant and vibrant. And we really feel the spirit in all the ways that we worship God, not just verbally, but in our study, in our conversations. And we love that passing on, that going forward, that we send out to the world to do the work that Jesus has called us to do.
Amen. Let's go to the next image. Who is this beautiful lady here?
This is one of my favorite pictures. So this is my mom, the youngest of the 14 of my grandparents. And my mom passed away in April of last year. She's 94 years old. Lord let her live 94 years. And towards the end of her life, she took me to church, and I started taking her to church with me. And this is one of the last times that we were in church together. And she still wore her white hat, her white suit. She still believed in honoring God all the way to the end. And this is just her listening to the sermon with all that she had. And I love this picture of her.
Who took this photograph?
Pastor Robinson took the photograph. He is probably taking most of these pictures. As much as he wasn't just preaching and teaching, he would snap pictures of his congregants. So I believe that was him that took that picture.
Documenting the history of the church.
Absolutely, yes.
So we have another photograph, a group photograph. Who's in this image?
Okay. So here we are. Here we are again. And again, one of the things that I love about the Black church as far as bringing gifts, I'm a playwright as well. And I did my first play at the church. We were allowed to use the space for rehearsals. And this was the cast of friends and family. And we just had grandchildren, nephews, and we just had a wonderful time. So someone snapped that picture, and it was just great.
Wonderful, wonderful. And do we have one last photograph?
Okay. This is probably one of my last sermons at the particular church that I was serving at before going off and founding the church that I'm a pastor at now, a Sacred Space Ministry. And one of the things that I've always loved is to tell people about the Lord. And you could definitely do that in and outside of the church building. And so here is a time where I was probably getting ready to say goodbye to them to go off to my new assignment.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Reverend Michelle, for sharing, your family and your church family. Any last words before we let you go?
I just pray that we continue to celebrate the church, both the local church and the church universal, and to know that it is a place of healing and hope. We get marching orders there, and we can go out and spread the love and justice that comes from being a part of this wonderful, wonderful entity. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you. Just tell us the name of the church and where it's at.
So it's Sacred Space Ministry. It is a virtual church at this particular time. It is in Philadelphia, and you can find it right on the Facebook page, on Instagram, and hit me up. I'll be glad to talk with you more about that. All are welcome. A Sacred Space Ministry.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Bless you. So this is so exciting. So our next special guest is coming right up. But first, we're going to have another little short piece by Lamar.
This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine. Oh, I'm going to let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine. Said I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
So our next guest is Mr. Rick Cothran, a photographer. Mr. Cothran is from St. Martin de Porres Catholic Church. He's known as the man behind the camera. Welcome, Rick. How are you?
Thank you, Thomas. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I'm so happy that we have a photographer here, and you've been taking pictures of various churches throughout Philadelphia.
Yes, I've gone to different organizational functions throughout the city. It seems as though the word got out that I was doing some work at St. Martin's, and I've been invited to different churches to cover different organizations' events.
So let's start with your first photograph. So tell us about this image. Where is this from, and what made you take this study of this church?
This was done early on when I was getting into photography and actually had returned to the church and started to become more involved. Mm-hmm. This is St. Martin de Porres Catholic Church in North Philly. It was previously known as St. Columba. Due to consolidation, the church that I had gone through as a kid, St. Elizabeth, was closed, and a couple other churches. They all came together here, and the church was renamed for the Black Saint, St. Martin de Porres. And I took a summer to take pictures inside the church and document the beauty of the church itself. It was built in 1895, and it's a magnificent structure.
Beautiful. I love it. I actually want to purchase a print from you. So let's go to the next series of photographs. And these look like your church family. So this is before we saw the image of the church without any people. So this is a church in action.
Yes, this is our family and friends day. That's our pastor, Father Stephen Thorne, who loves to bless the people with water. He does a fine job of it. This was a Sunday where we were asked to bring some family and friends to church, and we had a full house, and it was a lovely occasion because, as you can see, all are welcome. When we say it, we mean it, and we're showing it.
Beautiful. Let's continue with those images inside the church. So, and how long have you been a member of this church, and why this particular church?
My parents were there when the consolidation happened in '93. My mother passed in 2002, and I started to come to the church on a more regular basis after her death. And as I started to pay more attention to the people, I wanted to give back something to them for their love and kindness to my mother. I found a new home, a new family, and never thought that I would have gotten this much involved, but you get to a certain age and the spiritual side needs to be tended to. And I found a place where I feel very comfortable, very comfortable. And it is definitely family, no doubt about it, no doubt about it.
Wow, beautiful. Next photograph. And let's go back actually to the previous photograph. This is the church is operating during the time of COVID. So I see mask and social distancing.
Yes, when we had the shutdown initially and there were no public masses to be had, our pastor opened the doors at 9:30 on Sunday mornings, and people were socially distanced, and they were able to come in and spend some quiet time. He gave a homily at 10 o'clock. I recorded it, and I would put on our Facebook and YouTube channel for people to share. Once we were able to have public masses, we have socially distanced. Everyone wears a mask, and that's this is a service that we had, and part of my job, like you said, is to take pictures. But we wanted to make sure that people knew we're still here, we're still alive, we're still well, and you have some place that you can come to when you need a place to rest, to kind of just get around the difficulty that are going on.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to the next photograph, which doesn't have any people in it, and this looks like a food pantry.
Yes, part of our ministry with regards to being in the Black community in North Philly, we do a food giveaway. We have a pantry, we get food donated, and once a month, we try to put bags of groceries together and just, advertise and let people know we can help you. And in our area, 24th and Lehigh, people need help. And we just want to let them know, come on by and we can give you a helping hand. We're not asking you to explain why you're in the situation that you're in. We just want to offer a helping hand because that's what we as a church do and we need to do. As you can see, this is our assistant pastor, Father McConan. And this was we were outside the church on a Sunday after Mass, and people stopped or walked up. We had signs out, and it makes you feel good because people know that big building, there's something going on that maybe they might want to become a part of. But if not, you can at least come and know that you're not going to be turned away. You're going to get a helping hand. Otherwise, what's the point of being there if you're not going to help?
Mm-hmm. Service and help and sustaining the community is what I'm hearing in terms of the richness of the African American church in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Rick Cothran. I really appreciate you coming and visiting us and sharing your photographs, and we look forward to following you. I hope you have an Instagram account so we could follow you.
Actually, no, but our church has. I've helped maintain our social ministries through the media's Facebook, website, YouTube channel. So, smdpphiladelphia.com, St. Martin de Porres, Philadelphia.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and I try to do what I can to share the pictures that way. So check us out, and we're always trying to reach out and help anybody that we can. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so this is what a wonderful and diverse representation of the Black church in Philadelphia. So we have another interstitial. Here we are.
Let's fly away and see the world as one. Let us believe today and rise and say the new day has begun. Oh, yeah.
And that interstitials by Lamar Reed. So please look for him, up and coming filmmaker. So our next guest is Valerie Harrison. Valerie Harrison holds a bachelor's degree in economics and a JD and a master's degree in liberal arts and a PhD in African American studies, the last two from Temple University. She served as the interim president of Lincoln University and legal counsel and trustee and a member of the Black History and Cultural Ministries at 2 Philadelphia area churches. Valerie, welcome.
Thank you, Thomas.
How are you today?
I am well, and you?
I'm doing very good. Thank
Yeah.
you. So the first image you brought, tell us, let's see that and tell us about this image. This is also another old image. And you could, obviously we could tell that through the clothes and particularly the hats and the long skirts. Is this a family image?
It is not. You know, as a lifelong Philadelphian, I've had the good fortune of being a part of some wonderful ministries in this area. I'm currently a member of St. Paul's Baptist Church in Westchester. I mean, you know, when I think about the Black church and what it means to me, while it is certainly a place of worship and spiritual development, I also think of the African and African American value of communalism or community. The Black church has been such a wonderful reflection of this ideal. And so this picture is from the late 1800s when a small group of Black Christians organized Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church, where I was a member for many of my adult years. Enon Tabernacle was the first African American Baptist church in the Germantown section of Philadelphia and the 55th African American church in Philadelphia.
Wow, amazing. I love that image. Let's go to the next image. And I just want to comment on the previous image. You know, you had a minister, and then you had all the women, you know, who are, you know, who are the foundation of the church as well. So, and now we have, so yeah, if you want to talk about that in context of this next image.
So the next image is of the same group. You know, it was the end of the Reconstruction era, Thomas. You know, and it reminds me how for so many Black people, adversity and struggle bonded us together. And so they remained committed to spirituality and also to each other.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And so how did you end up with these images in your collection, in your family album?
So one thing that was important in preserving the legacy of the Black church at many of the churches that I've attended or been a member of is to make sure that we preserve photos and that we preserve the history in a way that we're passing it on. You know, Black people have inherited a wonderful legacy of resilience, of resistance, and many question the ongoing relevance of the Black church. But we have been intentional about preserving photos, preserving the oral history, and programming like this and what we're going to witness next week, I think, confirms its importance in the lives of Black people.
Yeah, it's so important. You know, we saw the image of free food, but freedom is so important to be able to tell one's narrative and pass the history back or forward to the next generation.
Yes.
Let's go to the next photograph.
Okay.
So this says September 1956. Who's in this image?
So let me tell you, so my mother was born and raised in North Philadelphia, and my father was part of the Great Migration, the second wave of the Great Migration. He and his mother and sisters and brothers migrated from Virginia to Philadelphia. And like many Black families, they settled in North Philadelphia. My parents joined Wayland Temple Baptist Church at 25th and Columbia, now Cecil B. Moore Avenue. This is a picture of our pastor, Reverend Clarence Smith, and his wife. You know, I remember him as this dynamic preacher. He would preach, and my parents and other worshipers would holler with affirmations. There was such connection. And that call and response confirmed the relationship between the individual and the community. And that is one of my fondest memories of Wayland Temple.
Beautiful. And I loved her hat as well.
Yes, yes.
Let's go to the next image.
Let's see. Oh, okay.
Who's that?
So this is me in 1965 as we headed to Wayland Temple. You know, the church was most often the first place where we spoke before an audience publicly, you know, usually a Sunday school, Easter or Christmas program. It was my first piano recital, you know, was held in a Black church. For singers, often their first solo was in a Black church. And no matter how you did, your community still loved and affirmed you in a way that nurtured your confidence, Thomas.
And how did you keep this image in somewhere special? I mean, how did
it
you?
It is in the family photo album. Yes.
Oh, great! Do you remember this day? Is this really Easter Day?
It is Easter Day, but I only know that because my mother made the notation. I don't remember the day, but yes, it is.
Wonderful, wonderful, so cute. Let's go to the next image.
We learned how to behave, Thomas, by observing men and women in the Black church. They were so dignified and gracious and confident. This is a picture of my father's twin sister, along with her pastor and other women she did ministry with at Jones Memorial Baptist Church at 20th and Dolphin Streets here in Philly. And so although segregation and Jim Crow laws limited her educational opportunities, and she was a domestic worker during the week, on Sunday, she was sharp, Thomas, and she was the president of something. And so we had real life examples of Black leadership and achievement. We felt good about being Black. And so the Black church played a key role in developing our racial identity.
Which one is she?
She's the one right next to the pastor, sitting with the black and white on right next to her pastor.
I see. Wow.
Yes.
Elegant. Thank you. So we will go to the next image.
Yeah. So this is Reverend Leon Sullivan. Reverend Leon Sullivan, he was a tall man in physical stature, but like other pastors in Philadelphia, he seemed larger than life in terms of his community impact. He organized the Don't Buy Where You Don't Work boycott of Philadelphia businesses, and then he started OIC. He was the pastor of Zion Baptist Church at Broad and Venango in North Philly, and I would often visit with high school friends who were members there. As we entered our teenage years, Thomas, where we went to church was as much about where the guy you had a crush on went to church as anything else, to tell you the truth. And so while we had one eye on the boyfriend crush, we got the message that Reverend Sullivan preached and lived, that our individual achievement was only significant to the extent that it really translated into progress for the entire group.
Beautiful, beautiful. And we have one last image.
We did.
This image is very striking. When I first saw this image I saw it very small. I thought it was all men because it was these black suits and whites. And then I looked, and white shirts, and then I looked and I saw it was men and women. Yes. And so what is this? What is it?
So this is the group of trustees. Much of my adult life I have spent as part of Black church leadership, as either legal counsel or as a trustee. And so while we're managing $1 million budgets now, and we're dealing with complex business transactions, this does remind me that children are still singing their first solos, and we're still loving and affirming them, even if we don't sound very good. And, we also, we're a place that nurtures young people. We're still giving young people a few dollars when they go back to college. We're still working for social justice like Leon Sullivan, and we're taking care of those in need. And so in a very real sense, Thomas, we are still community to each other.
Could you talk just a little bit about the business of the Black church? I mean, you're coming at it from both teaching as a scholar, but also supporting through the your legal work and the trustee work. I first started public speaking also in my church, and so it's I see what I'm doing today as a continuation. In some ways I got my my wings in the church,
Right.
And so I'm able to create institutions out of that institution. Could you talk a little bit about the business aspect of the African American church, because that's something we don't often hear about? My grandfather was the treasurer of the church, and I never talked to him about that.
And it's interesting now. I mean, the church is in many ways a business. We often own multiple properties, again, manage multi-million-dollar budgets. And Black people are the owners of these institutions. These are our institutions, which we most often are running. And so it is another way that we build community. And, we tend to be committed to using Black businesses and Black vendors in doing work. And so we believe that we're strengthening the Black community overall. But, at the core of communalism, even though it is a business, at the core really still is family. And our concept of family goes really beyond biology. It's more about relationship. And so in many ways, we build these structures in order to carry that out, not for business sake, but for the sake of being family to each other. And, I remember times, again, I've mentioned this earlier, where someone would slip you money because they knew you were going back to college. Deacons would teach boys how to tie a tie, and older women would pull our coattails if we were popping gum or talking too loud. The Black church for many is the only family that they have, and nobody shows up like Black folks when you experience the death of a loved one. And so again, while we are businesses, we are creating a business infrastructure so that we can carry out the wonderful work of being family to each other.
A great model for the country as we start moving forward in new and uncharted directions.
Yes.
In terms of our diversity and bringing forth, new models of thinking about how we can move together, with such amazing diversity that America is. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Thomas, for this opportunity.
Okay, so we're going to go to one more beautiful song, interstitial. Please roll tape.
God's gonna trouble the water.
Lovely. So our next guest is Jeremy Moore. He's the worship and creative pastor of Freedom Church in Philadelphia and leads the Cherry Hill location. He is also the best dressed member of the staff, according to the church website. Jeremy, welcome.
I love that.
How are you?
Hi, Thomas. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. I like your background and all the guitar. Is that a guitar?
Thanks, yes, because this is all my office at home, so I have all my instruments and things. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you brought some wonderful images of your church family, which is entwined with your family of origin and the family you're creating. Let's start with your first image.
Oh, I love this photo. It represents so much of my journey and just being here in Philadelphia. I grew up in North Carolina in a typical Black church experience, and a lot of my friends here, though I go to a church that is multicultural in expression, it's probably 40% Black, 40% white, 20% other, and my friends here, they're like two of my best friends in the city, and we all grew up in different parts of the country in Black church experience, yet we feel called to this, to be bridge builders and build this multi-ethnic expression within church. But we still need that connection, and it's just so beautiful that I still have this family. And, some people would think if you're in a church that is, aiming to be multicultural, that you shouldn't be seeking out this sort of nuclear Black connection. But I actually, we need it more, just because of just how much work is involved and there's tensions and so we lean into this space, and I got to say they are just two of my best friends. I love them to death. And these are my daughters. This is a while back, so this is they're 7 and 4 now, but this is one of their aunties from church. My church family is my family here, and I've always wanted my daughters to experience what I experienced growing up. In Black church, you have your aunties that take care of you from the church, and it's just an experience that I wanted them to have, and they still get that even in this context, and so I love that for them.
Wonderful.
This is the day that I proposed to my now wife of 8 years. And this is in the church building. And what I love about this picture is, obviously it's, there's a Black subculture in our church, but we also get to build with so many different people. In this picture, it's just a picture of heaven for me. It's there's Indian and Korean and Pakistani and Cajun and Black and white and Nigerian all in this picture together. We're doing life together, and it's just a beautiful expression of what we don't have to lose a Black church experience while still growing in a multicultural context.
And is that you and your wife there?
That is me and my wife there. Yeah, she's flashing the ring there a little bit.
Oh, that's it. I see. And did you meet her there at the church?
So yeah, I did. I met her at church. Yep, I met her. I mean, we've been serving in ministry together for almost 2 decades now.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's wonderful. Let's go to the next image.
This picture has so much in it. I mean, number one, it's this is our stage. This is Freedom Church on a typical Sunday. I miss it. We're still virtual right now. But it kind of speaks to the worship. I'm the pastor over worship at our church, and I love that I get to really be kind of the steward of the sound of Freedom Church in this multicultural context. And I still say hands down, Freedom Church has the best worship, praise and worship in the Philadelphia area. But I think part of it is that it's because it's influenced by the Black church, and it's just a beautiful thing. But also on the stage, you see this man in front of me. His name is Henry. He's my mentor, and he's just incredible. And I just love that even in this space, you have Black leadership on the platform, speaking to a church that's predominantly not Black, but it's still a part of, it's integrated within the church. And I love that, because sometimes people think of a non-denominational multicultural church as a space where, we're so used as Black people in being minorities as assimilating to a culture. But what I love about, at least at Freedom Church, just establishing a space where that's not the case, where we're actually defining the terms of how we connect with God and people. And so everybody's kind of having to die a little bit to their preferences, but everyone gets to speak into what the church's expression is. And you get to see that from all parts of how we worship. And I think it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing about Freedom Church.
Yeah, it's interesting because they say, I think there's a colloquialism that the most segregated hour in America is on Sunday mornings,
Yes.
with the different churches, even though, I go to Bethel AME Church in Harlem, and, there are people who are not African-American or Afro-Caribbean who also come and who are welcome. This is something that's, a little different.
Yeah, I think statistically, it's 5% of churches in America are considered multicultural, which means there's no more than 80% of one ethnicity that's part of the
5%. Wow.
Yeah, less than 5%. So it's a rare thing to have a church that, at least on our end, that's 40% white and Black. That's really, so you walk in, you don't know who's the minority, who's the majority, which I think is a beautiful thing that we're continuing to perpetuate and retain this type of culture over the decades.
And thank you. Let's go to the next photograph.
That is me preaching. And so I've been able to find my voice at Freedom Church, and I want to just give a big kudos and shout out to Pastor Gabe. Freedom Church is in the building. Because he's allowed me to be authentically me from the pulpit, and I think that's just so important in this space. If you're in in the city and the times that we're in, and being able to speak from a place as a Black man, and creating that space for me to speak to the congregation from that space. I got to speak literally the week after Elijah McClain story broke out, and it was like a really hard week, and I was able to just speak from that space to the church. And I think it's helpful for everyone, Black, white, wherever, to navigate through leadership. What does it actually mean to walk this out? And I think it's building bridges that normally wouldn't get built in this space.
Thank you for that work. Next image.
This is
another laying on of hands. We saw this similar image and with Reverend Michelle earlier, although it was her ordination image. But this is something different, but similar.
Something different. So this is my little sister Brittany. We're praying over her. This is at one of our rehearsals for worship, and she's actually going away to go to be a missionary full time on the campuses, and she was leaving for training. So we were praying over her, releasing her. And it was a really great moment, just because she's not only a singer, and she's not only, she was a student at the time, but she is just a powerful, powerful minister. And I was so excited. I mean, I get excited for any person who's going to give their life to the mission, you know, but I think the beauty of sending out, you know, a Black girl into this space, Philadelphia, and back to Temple and UArts, where there's, you know, where people that look like her need her in this space. And so I was I love this picture because again, it speaks to, it is a Black church. I mean, that's what we do. We pray, we lay hands, we speak into our people that we're sending out. And I just love this moment. It just captured so much of my heart for her. Yeah.
And what exactly is she doing as a missionary?
So she's a full-time, she basically works on the campuses at Temple, University Arts, really preaching the gospel and discipling students. And so a lot of the reason why we have other Black students come from all of these campuses coming to our church are because of people like her who give their life to be on the campuses and do Bible studies and lead small groups and, you know, and take women through this journey. And, you know, we have men missionaries as well. And I think it's just a powerful tool. I mean, our church is probably 90% under the age of 45, and a lot of them are from the campuses, and it's because of people like her that are giving their life to serving that cause.
Mm-hmm. So far-reaching in Philadelphia.
Yes.
Let's go to the next image.
Collage.
This is various families in the church.
It is. So what I love about this picture, so this is from Father's Day. We always do this celebration of dads through Instagram. We're a big creative church. And so a lot of times we do this, just, you know, sharing the stories of our people. And what I loved about this is, you know, for me, what struck me, it really brings a tear to my eye. It's just the normalization of like positive images of Black fatherhood. That not only we get to see, I mean, we've always seen it in the Black church. You know, our dads are, you know, deacons and trustees and everything, but now we get from everybody gets to experience and see that in the church culture. And it's just a beautiful thing that is normalized. It's like what the images people see on a daily basis in church family. So
yeah, and we see you in the lower right corner with your
family. That's my tribe. Yeah.
Looks like Easter, the Easter bunny.
It was Easter. Yes.
Easter bunny ears of your daughter. Let's move on to the next image.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I saw this earlier in one of the interstitials. This is, you know, our church has really decided that, you know, we are going to address the race-related barriers that keep us from worshiping together, and we're going to stand against injustice in the name of Jesus. And I think this is just one of those powerful moments for me that just speaks to my, you know, this is a prayer rally that our church did in Center City, and we've been having them for a while. And this is part of my own journey. You know, back in the day when Plano Castile was shot and everybody saw it on Facebook, I really had a come to Jesus moment. This is going to be the church for me. I was waiting for a moment for the church to stand up, and is it going to be a church that's going to mourn with me and grieve with me in this space? And it was through a prayer moment that kept me at Freedom Church, leaning into this space. And so I'm just very proud of the work that we're doing to stand with each other and to lean into these moments, and, you know, and not empathy, and we're not optics for diversity, but really, you know, pressing in and saying we're going to be reconciled. We're going to stand, you know, this is a gospel issue, and we're going to, you know, walk this out together. And so,
speaking of together, let's go to the next and final image.
Oh, yeah.
So this is what together. So this is part of the same day, isn't it?
Yes, this is one of those rallies the same day. And again, this is what freedom looks like, and I love it. I love this moment, and it's
what freedom looks like.
This is what freedom is.
Yeah. Jeremy, thank you so much
for having me.
Church, family, and experience and mission, you know, with us today, and allowing us to see a little bit of Philadelphia through your eyes and the eyes of your Freedom Church.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Okay, take care. Okay, so our next and final guest is Reverend Naomi Washington-Leapheart. Reverend Naomi Washington-Leapheart is a Black, queer, Jesus follower who grew up loving to play living room church with stuffed animals who sat on pews made out of couch pillows. Through teaching, preaching, writing, and advocacy, she develops spaces of theological candor, disruption, reflection, transformation, and public action. Reverend Naomi, welcome.
Thank you so much, Thomas. It's good to be here.
Oh, great. How are you today?
I'm good. It's Friday. I'm great.
And we've been doing family pictures for almost a decade and a half now, and I just want to say I love the collage you put together, the family album, these images. Were they like this, or did you put them together in the order for us today?
I put them together in an order, yeah.
So tell us about this page in general. Why this order, and how does this speak to the Black church in Philadelphia?
Mm-hmm. So the upper left picture is a picture of the nursery department in my childhood church when my father was a little boy. So I put this picture in there to demonstrate, as others have already so beautifully said, the intergenerational and multi-generational heritage of the Black church. That my father sat in that same nursery department that I sat in and my brother sat in. And my grandmother, who's in the picture to the right, up top in the white hat, was the superintendent of the nursery department. And so Christian education, religious education in general, was her forte. She was a classroom teacher, second grade teacher, in real life from 9 to 5, and she was a Sunday school teacher on Sunday mornings. Is that
her in the bottom too?
Well, that's me in the bottom.
The bottom right, the bottom left. Is that your grandmother in the white hat?
That's my grandmother in that white hat. And, as was said before, my grandmother was the first person who put a microphone in my hand and told me I had something worth saying, worth amplifying. And so that's a picture of Sunday school in 1986. And I had, they always gave me the longest parts, the little Easter parts. Some people had 2 lines. I had a paragraph to memorize because my
that's you. So she has a microphone in front of your mouth. Beautiful.
Yeah. So, so this picture just shows that I feel like I'm a quintessential church girl. I don't ever remember a time when I wasn't closely involved in a congregation, all from my baby dedication to now. And so it's really dear to me. I am a daughter of the Black church.
Oh, let's move on to the next sheet of photographs.
Mm-hmm.
And
so,
Naomi, tell us about this.
Yeah. So I grew up actually in Detroit, Michigan. So those pictures on the first slide were from Detroit. And then I moved to Philadelphia and joined a church, Bright Hope Baptist Church, right there in North Philly near Temple. And the left upper picture is the stained glass window at the back of the sanctuary at Bright Hope. It was the first time I saw Jesus depicted with dark skin. And so all of the photos on this slide really illustrate the way I became sort of Black and Christian. I took on a kind of more radical theological perspective that I had to reconcile my racial identity with my Christian identity. So that involved going to seminary, and you see there my graduation hat from seminary. Black MDivs matter. It matters when we are trained, when we are in community with others who are saying yes to this call to deeper engagement with ministry. And then at the bottom right, you see a picture of me with my first class of students at Villanova University. I teach theology and religious studies there. So it's kind of this full circle. Somebody taught me, and then I think it's my obligation to go on and teach others. So.
Let's go to the next. Flip the page of the album. And who are these?
So this is all me, with the exception of the choir photo. One of the texts that I hold dear is make a joyful noise unto the Lord, right? And so I remember taking piano lessons and organ lessons in my grandmother's living room and also at the church, learning how to make music, worship music, sacred music. Eventually became choir director at the church where I went to a little later on in my Philadelphia tenure, St. Paul's Baptist Church there at 10th and Wallace. So you see me directing the choir there. That's the choir. And then now as a preacher, I also bring music into the pulpit. So that's a picture of me singing from the pulpit.
Do you remember what song you were singing in that photograph?
Oh, I think I was singing "Give Thanks with a Grateful Heart." Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because God's given Jesus Christ, the Son. And now let the weak say, I am strong. Let the poor say, I am rich because of what the Lord has done for us. Give thanks. Yeah.
Beautiful. And thank you. Thank you. Let's go to the next image.
Yeah, so I want to say that the Black church, while it is the place that formed me, the place that nourished me, the place that first empowered me to know that I had something to say, worth hearing, it hasn't always been a place of refuge for me. When I came out as a queer person, there were some ways in which I felt exiled in some Black church settings, and it was women of faith who embraced me, who taught me how to live in the wilderness, live in exile, and make worship, make church happen outside of the walls that had been closed to me. So you'll see on the left, I'm starting at the upper left, that's Reverend Dr. Leslie Callahan, who we know is a pastor here in Philadelphia. And that was at my pastoral installation in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. The middle photo is Bishop Yvette Flunder, who features prominently in the documentary that will debut next week. She is my current pastor. She ordained me. She's my spiritual mom. And then, you've got Reverend Lenise Pinkard. We've got Reverend Dr. Will Gaffney and Reverend Dr. Pamela Lightsey. All of these women introduced me to God as a woman who loves unconditionally. And then at the bottom left, this is a really dear picture. This is me and my beloved. This is me and my wife in ministry together, presiding over a service that we did in South Philadelphia a couple of years ago. So I met God, and she's Black.
Beautiful. And so you're also opening up the church in some ways, taking it forward in terms of embracing the diversity of who we are as a people and who we can be and how we can minister.
That's right. That's right.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Next image.
So this is what ministry looks like, what worship looks like for me today. I'm honored to serve in the mayor's office as the director for faith-based and interfaith affairs here in Philadelphia. And so that's a very public-facing ministry. One of the pictures there is me praying, offering the invocation in a city council meeting. You also see that preaching is core to my ministry as well. And so you'll see the church sign of me preaching in Oakland. So having ministry opportunities all over the country. The ordination right there up at the top, where the laying on of hands, you feel the weight of the call, the weight of the obligation to go and love radically. And then a couple of protest moments, right? Protesting on behalf of workers' rights here in Philadelphia, that was there on Independence Mall. And then on the steps of the Supreme Court to say that faith should not and cannot be used as a justification for discrimination. What's dear to me is I get to do all of that. And the Black church did teach me how to do all of that. So I am forever grateful.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Reverend Naomi. One last thing, I read recently that, a lot of suicides, high rate of suicides of young people, LGBTQ folks, who don't necessarily find acceptance within their family. And so how can they find a place to nurture them themselves in the church? If you could just mention, speak.
Well, I want anybody who might be listening to know that there is a community in the wilderness. If you feel like you're in a wilderness place, you've been exiled from what you love and know, there is a community for you in the wilderness. I'm part of the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries, which is a global movement for Black LGBTQ plus Christians. And we worship, we shout, we study, we protest, we love on each other. And so know that you are God's beloved. And there is a community out here for you. If you want to know more about that, you can email me at faithful at phila.gov, and I'd be happy to embrace you and take you into the wilderness with us.
Bless your heart. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Thomas.
Okay, so I want to thank everyone, all of our wonderful special guests. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have this evening. I hope you were moved by the testimonials we heard. I certainly was. I want to thank all of our guests, Reverend B. Michelle Horton, Mr. Rick Cothran, Valerie Harrison, Dr. Valerie Harrison, Mr. James Moore, Reverend Naomi Washington-Leapheart. You were all fantastic. I also want to give a shout out to our friends at WHYY for inviting us to be part of this special event celebrating the Black Church in Philadelphia, especially Lamar Reed, a graduate of WHYY's Youth Media Initiative and its Pathways to Media Careers program, who created and edited the video shorts with that beautiful music. Thanks, Lamar. And thank you to all our great Family Pictures USA team behind the scenes, making all of our connections work to bring this event to you and our wonderful audience. We at Family Pictures USA have spent the last 10 years traveling the country and the world, building community and transforming strangers into family through the magic of our shared family photographs. The values and experiences reflected in these precious artifacts are the foundation that binds us together in our common humanity. Please follow Family Pictures USA on Instagram, our Facebook group, YouTube, and if you have a Black church story, please feel free to share it with us on our blog. You can check out our blog at www.familypicturesusa.com. And I am now going to turn it back over to Chris.
Thank you, Thomas. And I'm following you now on Instagram. This has absolutely been a moving and enlightening conversation. And we're thrilled that you and the Family Pictures team were able to work with us tonight to make it so special. I'd also like to thank all of our panelists for taking the time to share their stories. Additionally, let me thank the organizations, churches, and people who helped spread the word about tonight's event. It's because of partners like you that WHYY can present such compelling programming. Finally, we want to thank each of you for attending tonight's event. Everyone who registered for this event has been given a membership to WHYY. Please be on the lookout for your new member email, which tells you about member benefits and lets you know how to sign up for notifications about upcoming programming that might be of interest to you. We hope that tonight's event has excited you about next week's documentary. Please don't forget to tune in at 9 p.m. on February 16th and 17th to watch The Black Church. Also, in honor of the Black Church series, on February 28th at 8 p.m. on 90.9 WHYY FM, we'll air WRTI's recording of John Coltrane's A Love Supreme, which took place at Mother Bethel AME Church. As a part of this special FM broadcast, Reverend Mark Tyler will speak, and there will be a special performance from Ruth Naomi Floyd from her project, Frederick Douglass Jazz Works. Thank you again for joining us. I'm Chris Norris. Good night.